Video from the Cozumel diving portion of my November 2016 trip to the Playa del Carmen Cozumel area. This is Palancar Reef, and if I could dive this every single time I was in Cozumel, for every single dive I would. It's beautiful with massive, towering coral heads. One of the best environments I've been in. Lots of swim-throughs and whatnot. There's also quite a few green sea turtles. And on this particular trip, I was able to get several fantastic interactions. In this particular interaction, we found the sea turtle underneath a coral head eating something, and he launched off and swam maybe a foot and a half in front of me. I was standing still as not to disturb him, but he came my direction. I was able to get some really cool footage. One of the natives of the Cozumel area is the Cozumel splendid toadfish, which you see here. You can tell it's a toadfish by the little hairs on its chin. Also, it's a Cozumel splendid because of the gold fringe along its fins. The highlight of the dive for me, of all the ocean dives, and I did 8 total, was this spotted eagle ray. This is the first spotted eagle ray that I've been able to actually capture on footage. We saw this one at the very end of one of our dives. We were doing our safety stop. It had elapsed about a 55-minute dive when we saw this off on the horizon. I basically looked at the dive guide, waved goodbye, and went hauling after this eagle ray to try to get some footage. It was magnificent. Its wingspan, tip to tip, had to be in excess of 10 feet. They are stunningly beautiful. Their tail is twice the length or so of the body. It's quite a bit different than what we're used to seeing in California. It's truly a graceful creature. Fun facts about the eagle ray are that they give birth to live young. Their diet primarily consists of mollusks, which you can see him collecting here as he glides down on the sand and sticks his mouth into the sand to gather food. Really a stunning encounter. I'm so glad we got to see it. There was one other that I saw on the trip, but I couldn't get any footage. This is a white spotted filefish. This is a scrawled filefish. This is a spotted trunkfish. I love their feeding behavior. If you pay close attention, they squirt little jets of water into the sand looking for small crustaceans and other invertebrates. Then they dive in and take little pecks at it. Really, really a cool little fish. This is a cowfish. You can see the 2 little horns on the front of its face. It's different than the boxfish, but it's all in the same boxfish, pufferfish family. It's cool to see such diversity. You get these guys, you get the much larger porcupine puffer, which you'll see here in a minute, and there's smaller pea puffers, lots and lots of these particular species. Here's a much, much larger porcupine pufferfish. This one has to be about 2.5 to maybe 3 feet in length. I have never seen them inflated in the wild, and from what I understand, it's actually quite hard on their bodies. And in contrast to the 3-foot pufferfish, here's a 2-inch pufferfish. Such amazing variety. Here we have a queen angelfish. They seem to like naming things queen in this particular area. There's also a queen parrotfish as well. This was a beautiful, beautiful flatfish. I loved its blue circular patterns. I saw this on the last trip as well. I just think they're really quite interesting compared to the more bland ones in California. And there were several barracuda. These were smaller than the ones that I encountered in the North Carolina area. And there were lobster everywhere. It's a marine preserve, so you can't take them. There were also several very large crab. As you'd see them a lot in Palancar Reef, they'd be eating the algae as you would swim around the corner. There were also several hermit crabs that would take advantage of the conch shells that had been abandoned. This particular one hated the light. And these are one of my favorite, the arrow crab. They always have one leg sort of sticking out, keeping you at bay. I really, really like these with my macro lens. They're so long you can get some interesting depth of field effects. This was really one of the only eels that I saw on my trip. It was tiny compared to the ones in California. This is one of a few black grouper. These were the largest of the proper fish as opposed to sharks that I saw on the trip. Here's a closer up shot of a black grouper. It was maybe 2.5 to 3 feet long. I believe that these are horse-eyed jacks. We saw a school of them at one of our safety stops, but I can't be 100% sure as to what they are. It's very pretty. This is one of the parrotfish. Unfortunately, colors are a little bit washed. It might be a rainbow. And here's a squirrelfish. These things with their giant eyes always look terrified to me whenever you encounter them. This is a sea cucumber. Really, the only way to tell the front from the end is the part on the left with the little pellets of sand. It vacuums in sand from the front end, filters out any algae or detritus, and then poops out little pellets. Here's the gills of a worm in a piece of brain coral. Here's a beautiful, beautiful triggerfish. There are quite a few varieties in this area. This is a type of a grunt. And here was the only drum that I saw. There were several nurse sharks. We didn't see any other varieties of sharks. Towards the end of the last dive, there was actually a nurse shark that sort of circled us as we would drift down the reef. They're really, really pretty, really peaceful. We got fairly close to some of them. It's not all that common to see them free swimming like this. Usually they just rest on the bottom. Unfortunately, I did see a few lionfish. This was a juvenile that I really wanted to squish. And here was a larger one. Thankfully, I only saw 2. Like any trip, this one had to come to an end. But the conditions were fantastic, and between this, the cenotes diving, it was a wonderful experience. I look forward to heading back to Playa again one day soon and getting to dive with all these beautiful creatures.